This is not a ride sharing video. I repeat, this is not a ride sharing video. So once again, we were discussing the simple notion that everything leans left. I follow a hell of a lot of left-wing media. I follow a hell of a lot of right-wing media outlets, whether it's talk shows, whether it's conservative radio, whether it is Fox News, OAN, Newsmax. I like to watch right-wing media just as much as I like to watch the left. And there is a notion that most things in this country, colleges and universities, Hollywood, music, the entertainment industry, folks suggest that everything leans left. And the question I'm asking is, why is that? What is it about the conservative side of the aisle, Republicans in general, that's making everything lean left? There's a hell of a lot of folks in this country that identify as Republicans, hell of a lot of traditionalists and conservatives. So why does everything lean left? Or is that a simple claim from the right that's not true? Why do everybody believe everything leans left? I want to know from the folks. Simple as that. We'll go straight to the comments. Now, we've been having some problems with the app. Hopefully that has been cleared up. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 5,000 likes as I always request. As always, the program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. I don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. So the fact that you might disagree with the host doesn't mean a damn thing. Looking in the comments, Outlaw Josie and Wyatt says, because that's where all the thieves are. Okay, so you're suggesting that all of Hollywood is thievery? All of the colleges and universities are thievery? That doesn't make sense, Josie. It's got to be more to it than that. Everything that leans left does so because they're thieves? Is it that simple? Is the definition, can it be simplified that much? Really? Conservatives embrace bigotry. Most people are actually good, says Texas Gemini. So you're suggesting that folks avoid the right because there's a lot of bigotry, racism, and intolerance or something among the right wing? How many other folks believe that? That a lot of things lean left because to lean right means endorsing bigotry. I would like to see that. Both of those labels for either side have been given to us by government so that we will stay. I don't get the rest of that. But you're right. They are government labels. That is true. When has America been great? I hear that on every broadcast. Well, it depends on who you're talking to, and I will go straight to the box, but in regards to when has America been great, depends on what your definition of great is. For some folks, great could mean a definition of what a man and woman is that cannot be changed. Maybe they might be talking about prayer in schools, praying before dinner with the family and folks, the nuclear family being held together. That is what great means to some folks. But when you ask the question, when was America great for everybody in the damn country? Never. It never was. Nevertheless, let's go right back to the box. Let's see if we can make it happen this time. I've been having some problems with the box. Cali to Washington. Let's see if this works. I've been having a lot of, you know something? I actually sent an invite. My box is screwed up. As always, feel free to come into the box. No fear of censorship, being banned or being blocked. You don't have to agree with the host to make this program work. I will always respect your First Amendment free speech rights here. So understand that as long as the TikTok gods are okay with it, you don't have to worry about it here. But it does appear to be as if I'm fluctuating or something like that. I don't know what's going on. But today, TikTok does not seem to want to cooperate. I'm sorry, but I see more left coming each other more than I do right. Lisa, I don't get your point. You see more left coming each other. There's got to be a word or two missing in that. Let me know I would let it hear that comment, but we'll keep it moving until then. Why does everything lean left? That is the question we're asking. If you listen to folks on the right, colleges and universities are progressive. They lean left. Hollywood, movies, the music industry, it all leans left. You talk about Disney. You see what's going on with Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida. Disney apparently leans left. Why is it that all of our major entities in this country lean left? What is it about conservatives, Republicans, and the right side of the aisle that folks would suggest everything is leaning away from? Up to and including the media. Many would suggest that even the media leans left. Is the conservative party not desirable? Why can't the media, why can't colleges and universities lean right? They suggest that professional sports lean left. What is it about the right side of the aisle that everything seems to lean away from? Why is that? Let's try it out in the box once again. We'll try it with Shred It Up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get you folks on. TikTok is doing. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 5,000 likes. The program is and always will remain MAGA friendly, but liberals are welcome as well. Shred it. Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing good. I'm asking that question. Why does everything lean left, particularly if you listen to folks on the right?
I think it leans left because left typically appeals to a more compassionate side to politics and culture.
Define compassionate. What do you elaborate? What do you mean by compassionate?
Um, like oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the I don't want to say like victimized, but like the ones who are struggling, like whether it be cultural, like you have the LGBTQ, you have um people of color, like all these. Oh man, all of a sudden I'm drawing
So,
blank on exactly the word I'm
well,
looking for.
let's go with what you presented already. Are you suggesting that the right has little compassion to struggling Americans?
I think the I think it's less about like a lack of compassion and more about a sense of um oh man,
It
responsibility,
happens.
discipline. Yeah, I know. No, I've seen your live so many times. I've tried to get on this the first time, and now I got 5 minutes. Like more like personal. Yeah, yeah, it
It's all
sucks.
right, man.
So,
It's all good. It's all good.
um, I think the right leans more towards like principles of personal accountability and and that comes off really bad in a lot of ways to people. Especially because it's kind of like you can come up with, oh, well, what about this person who's struggling? Well, they could have taken actions to help
Well,
mitigate that
but let's
struggling.
go with what you pointed out the LGBT community, for instance. Now, the
Yeah.
LGBT community is not big fans of conservatives. Now, when you talk about personal responsibility and accountability, what could the LGBT community do to be more accountable, or whatever the case may be, to make the right seem more desirable to them?
Well, from what I hear on both sides, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm on all these, but what it seems like is that like let's take the topic for gay marriage, right?
Okay, all
the
right,
way that the way that marriage originally was defined, I guess, by back in the day, and how conservatives still define it as, is the union between a man and a woman for procreation, right?
right.
So calling a man and a man loving each other and having a legal process of union goes against the idea of procreation naturally. It's like more of a naturalistic philosophy behind that. And so like conservatives don't want to call it marriage because that's not what it was originally defined to be. However, people on their left are like, these two people love each other. Why can they not get legally married to share the benefits of a normal married couple? Like, I
Well,
can
yeah,
understand.
and you point out to share the benefits because I was going to ask you that before you mentioned that term, share the benefits. You don't need to be married to procreate. So, marriage, I kind of agree with what you just said, is predominantly a legal document that allows you to share the benefits, inheritance, and things like that. But you don't need to be married to procreate.
Yeah, and you're right. But back in the day, it was highly frowned upon to not be, right? Like, you
By who?
wanted to.
By who?
Well, most of the culture back when it was more, I guess, Christian dominated in, in
Yeah.
in that way. Yes. Nowadays it's not so much, but the definition still stays the same, right? Like the definition of marriage was created however long ago, so it is kind of an artifact of previous times. but the concept in there is kind of this natural philosophy that's instilled in the Constitution itself.
Right.
Not saying that gay marriage is wrong by any means. I mean, I was the best man in my gay brother's wedding. Like, I have absolutely no problems with it, but it's like, by definition and by the philosophy of the Constitution, marriage is meant for, the union of two people to
Yeah, but
procreate and
here's
create
the
a family structure.
and you're correct, but the issue is our founding fathers suggested that we were not going to run the country based on separation of church and state. We're not going to run the country based on a Judeo-Christian philosophy. But even you and I are admitting that the whole concept of marriage is predominantly based on religion.
Well, that's because the religion really ties in with natural philosophy really well. Like, they resonate really well with each other, but you can believe in natural philosophy and not be a Christian. That's me. You know,
Okay.
so I mean, the two don't have to be,
But
exclusive.
it's fine if you believe my life based on your beliefs. That's where it becomes an issue. It's fine if you don't believe in, let's say, I'm not going to be promiscuous unless I'm married, because my belief is that you should be married before you consummate with a woman or something like that. That's fine. But when I start passing laws that say you also have to do it this way, that's when there's a problem.
Right. And that, I mean, no, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of subjective there's a lot of subjective arguments to that. Um,
Right.
but I mean, we do pass laws all the time telling people what they can and can't do, and it's just kind of like, when is enough enough?
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
let me
I
ask you, let me ask you this now. The LGBT crowd is not big fans of the conservative party. What is your personal belief? Do you believe the LGBT crowd has judged conservatives wrong? Do you believe that they should have no issues with that, with the right side of the aisle, just like the left? I mean, if you were LGBT, do you see any difference on which party you should vote for?
um, that's a good question. So I think there's a lot of confusion in communication from the LGBT side and, well, conservatives and Christians. Not all of them. I mean, you got some Christians that are absolutely crazy who will not tolerate anything outside their own little paradigm, and that's a shame. That's a real shame. But contrary to popular belief, that is not the majority of them. But a lot of Christians will argue, and not without accountability to themselves, but they'll say that these things are sins. These things are
But
against
wait a minute.
what
Most Christians, you would agree, get a lot of their teachings from the Bible, right?
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. What does the Bible say about LGBT?
Uh, that I mean, I haven't read the Bible. I would
Okay.
assume it says, like, from what I've heard, it's a sin.
Yeah, it's not
It's a
favorable
sin.
to it. Yeah,
Right.
it's not favorable to it.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, everyone sins. Like, the idea is that, Jesus died for our sins. That everyone is not perfect, that there's no way we could ever be God-like, but the idea is to pursue that path to try. But,
Right.
and most good people who are Christians understand that, we're not perfect, but they're also not going to say that, like, oh no, it's fine because technically by the beliefs, I mean, no, it's not. But we're all trying. We're all sitting here trying to do the best we can, at least
True.
from my experience and my interactions.
Right. Well, I do got to move it on, but I will
Yeah,
agree
man.
with you that most Christians know that we all are sinners. The only thing I would add to that is, though, Christians do not view all levels of sin as the same. There are some sins they will tolerate. There are other sins throughout history that they have stoned and killed people for. So while I agree with you that they view all mankind as sinners, they don't treat every sin the same, and that's where the problem is.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of hypocrisy in this world.
Yeah,
Not just in
yeah,
this country, not just in religious standpoints. It's all over the world, and it's in many ways. So
100% agree. 100%. All right, Shredded. Appreciate you coming in here, man. You're always welcome back.
yeah,
Good
man.
talk.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Comments. Jesus is Antifa as fuck. I had never heard of Antifa Probably until Trump got elected, but maybe that's me. Maybe that is just the ignorance of your host. I had never heard of Antifa before. Tap the screen, folks. By the way, get your boy up to 5,000 likes. I do believe that is possible. Don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. Nevertheless, I have been having problems out of the app today. I'll go straight back to the box, but as you see, the program is titled, Why is Everything Leaning Left? We're talking professional sports, the media, colleges and universities, amusement parks. You see, they're going after Disney. What is it about folks on the right that everybody seems to lean away from? Because if you listen to conservative talk radio, conservative media outlets, they would have you believe nothing leans right. So why is that? Half of the country voted for President Trump, yet everything leans the other way? What is it about conservatives, Republicans, and just leaning right in general that seems to be so undesirable for all of these entities? Or maybe are they getting it wrong? Going straight to the box. Let's keep it moving. Bad ass feminist warrior. Ouch, I like it. Let's see what's going on with badass feminist warrior. That's a hell of a name. By the way, folks, if this is what you like, civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any fear of being censored or banned or blocked, follow the program, helps out the algorithms, tap the screen. Feminist, badass
Oh,
warrior.
my
Good afternoon.
favorite raccoon.
Girl, I didn't know it was you. I didn't know it was
I
you.
had to change my name. They told me that TikTok don't like my gangster no more. So I had to put a badass for it. I am that too. You feel what I'm saying?
Okay. All right, I understand. So why does everything lean left?
Because have you seen the GOP lately? They're banning books. They're putting. See, I'm a Christian, and I believe this. God says one sin is no greater than the next sin. I grew up in the church. You feel what I'm saying? And they are judging. Oh, wait, let me tell you. Like, well, what they're telling about the drag queens and stuff. Oh my God, they're grooming, and all the trans is grooming. Then I just hear that the Southern Baptists, they're all going down over 800 of them for
For
sexual
what?
assault. They have a
Oh.
whole list about being accused of they being prosecuted and everything. Oh yes, but yet they're pushing their beliefs on us. Now I don't push my beliefs on the next person. It's not my faith is my faith. Oh, you know what I mean? And
Right.
I go to the left because what they're doing, like doing the censoring the books and telling that you can't have African American history and everything else. Oh yeah, they don't
Let
like
me
gay
let me
people.
interrupt. Let me interrupt you. Gangsta G Man, which is your name I'm used to knowing you by. But let me interrupt because somebody in the comments asked me. Lewis asked, "Why are you laughing when she calls you a raccoon?" Listen, folks.
Because
Even
he's
though
my
I'm
friend
liberal,
and I'm
yeah,
joking with him.
we go back like cookies and milk. I ain't worried about that. But the point I'm trying to make to folks is the whole purpose that you see the MAGA hat in the background is not that I'm necessarily supporting MAGA. I believe that everyone should have their freedoms to speak observed. So in my tiny corner of social media, I always make the solemn promise that I don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their comments. You see the name of the damn program, I lean left. But I like to let folks know, particularly MAGA, because I don't believe they get a fair shake in the media when it comes to being able to speak, that this program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, I get a hell of a lot of guests every single damn day calling me a sellout, raccoon, Uncle Tom, Uncle Ruckus, what the hell ever. I don't ban, block, or censor any of them. That's my spiel. So at the end of the day, gangster, or better yet, in this case, this badass
Mm.
feminist warrior. So at the end of the day, you believe it is the actions of folks on the right that make them
Yeah,
undesirable.
because of what they're doing. They're censoring everything. They want to be like a Russia. You know what I mean? They're telling people what they can and cannot do. You feel what I'm
Mm.
saying? And I
But
thought
they
they
say
was for
they're
less
but
government.
but folks on the right say they're for the Constitution. They're for freedom.
If banning books and telling that the LGBTQ is grooming kids, if that's not freedom, I don't know. If that's freedom, I sure don't want the other shit. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah,
But just let me
I
tell you
definitely
something.
feel that.
It's the Caucasians that are big mad because you know why? Because they're losing, and they want control. They want to control, and they're not going to
What do you
have
mean
it.
by they want to? What do you
They
mean when you
want to
say they
control
want to control?
everything. They want to control everything. They want to control that you can't learn the real history. They want to wash it up. And you guys know
Mm.
that I'm telling the truth. They want to wash it up. You feel
Yeah,
me?
I have my personal opinions on that as well, but I want you to elaborate. Why do you believe Caucasians want to wash up what you're being taught?
Because they don't want the Caucasian kids growing up to feel that they did something wrong. Well, you know what? That was the ancestors. Every ancestor, everyone should know what the real happened. Why are you gonna sugarcoat something? Why are you gonna sugarcoat
But
it?
do you believe if history is taught accurately, it will ostracize Caucasian children, or do you believe it
No,
will make them?
no. They just no. Why would they? Everybody knows that they didn't do nothing, but it's the history. Why
Yeah.
why why run from it? Why run from it? It was a bad history, yeah. It's not good history,
No, no,
but
it's
the
not
kids
good at
should
all.
know about it. Kids should
I
know
don't
about it.
I don't disagree with that at all either. And I've brought that up when folks say that taking down the Confederate statues is, removing history. I'm like, no, you can tell history, just tell it accurately. If you got a statue up and it only tells the good things about the guy on the statue when he's actually responsible for enslaving and raping people, then it's not really an accurate portrayal of history. It's kind of, as you say, washed history. So I think you and I kind of agree on that. But let's say, for instance, when it comes to the right, if they wanted more things to lean right, colleges and universities, the media, sports, and things like that, what do you think the right needs to do to get more, to become more attractive to these entities?
They're never going to be because you know why? They're Caucasian. They're never going to be. They're
But
so
wouldn't that be
tied up in their
racism?
head.
But
No, listen.
what,
No, on some real. They're so tied up with hate, and they want to like indoctrinate everybody. They don't like it. They don't, and that's being real. That's being real because if they're going after universities now, telling them
yeah,
what
but
they
do you,
cannot
wait,
do.
hold on. You believe all of the right is engaging in hate and things like that?
If
The
you walk
whole,
like a duck, you talk like a duck, you squawk like a duck, you a duck. Because if they're not speaking out, they're laying to go
yeah,
down. And you have to
yeah.
speak out. I promise you, if one of my family members was doing some messed up crap, I would speak up because that's not me. You ain't gonna represent me. And if they're representing something, they should speak up. But you know what? They don't got balls. They're
Well, I
afraid.
gotta,
They're afraid of
I
they're
always,
afraid of Chill Man.
I
The
always have to.
chimpanzee, the orange chimpanzee, they're afraid of it.
Well, I do believe the man has a significant amount of control over the party, but
They
I always come at things from a devil's advocate side in regards to seeing wrongs and not speaking up. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. We had a no snitching clause in the neighborhood. So I want to ask if we
Okay,
got
that's the
minorities.
difference because when you live on the streets, you do go by a code because you're on the streets and they'll come back and they could hurt your whole family. These Caucasians, they don't even know what the streets are. Okay, they got
But
silver
what if
spoons
the
in their
code?
mouth.
But what if the what? Even if they don't know what the streets are, what if the code is the same? For instance,
Hey, there
we
ain't
know
no
that.
code over there. There ain't no
Yeah, wait
code
a
over
minute.
there.
Hold on, hang on. Do you realize how many Caucasians through history have been killed for being listed as an N-word lover? They do have that code. That code does exist. Everybody that walked with Martin Luther King that was white, their lives were in danger.
Yeah, that's the good Caucasians. I'm not talking about the good Caucasians. We do that side.
Okay.
I'm not
All right.
putting them down, but the GOP is no ally because if they side, I'm not putting them down, but if there was an ally in there, then they should speak up and have some balls to speak up. But see, they don't. Even the black so-called Republicans, they're not even black because why would you not speak up? Why would you not speak up about having no black history and then over going to the universities and they can't even have the nothing with diversity or nothing.
All
That's what
right.
they're doing.
All right.
Go figure, right?
All
Go
right. I
figure.
can't listen. You always welcome on the program. You
You
always bring
know,
the
man, you need to do a show though, huh? Huh? Yeah.
huh?
Me and you need to do a show because I'm so blue and you so red.
Oh, I'm red now, huh?
No,
I'm red now.
you know, sometimes you be good. I'm gonna go through the phone and choke you.
All right, come on back through, girl. I gotta move it on. I always like talking to you, though.
You have a good one.
You too, girl. All right, comments. We need to get purple. I like that comment. What it says, Meg Rog. I like that. We do need more purple politics in this country, which is a combination of both red and blue for you folks who never had crayons or happen to be colorblind. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 10,000 likes. Let's keep it moving right back to the box. Bob Paytner, good afternoon. Welcome to the... let's make it happen. Bob, good.
Hey man, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. We're asking the question, why the hell does everything lean left? Colleges, professional sports, amusement parks, Hollywood. Everything leans left. The media. Why is that?
Well, I think some of it's money and power. I mean, the people that own Hollywood, for example, are all liberals, and if you're not a liberal, and then they don't want you to have your voice, and so they blackball. I think it's the same with the media, and I mean, I think the government controls the media. I
You're
said this because
really breaking up.
they
Okay,
want.
are you there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were breaking up,
Can you
but
hear
I
me
was going
now?
to ask you. There's a hell of a lot of money in among the conservative party. They own big oil and things like that. So when you point out you think it's money, why don't the conservatives use their money for that same purpose?
Because
Okay, unfortunately, it
most
looks like my guest is.
Republicans, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in a bad location,
Unfortunately, it
I
looks like
think.
yeah. Hey, Bob, come on back through, man. You know how it works, but if you're in a bad location. And this is a funny comment. Who said that? Adam said the media came for Bob. You know, I really hate to go down that avenue, but you know, sometimes I think that shit is true. We have a really good spirited amount of debates here. We have, you know, like I said, this is dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any fear of being censored or banned. And there are haters that do not like the fact that we make this happen here from a civilized standpoint without having to ban, block, or censor any damn body. I often have shows with 2,000 plus people in here. We all have a conversation. And there's not even a moderator to this shit. So it can be done. That is the whole purpose of the program, to show that if I can do this shit in my tiny ass corner of social media, it can be done in Washington. They're just not trying. It can be done. But yes, we do have haters on the sideline that will try their best to come at folks. But let's keep it moving while we still can. And going to the box. We'll make it happen with Vast. Haven't talked to Vast in a while. Vast37, good afternoon. Welcome to the... when Kanye West speaking the truth, the left came down on him? Are you sure it was just the left? I think Trump said the guy, quote unquote, effed him up. So it wasn't just the left coming down on Kanye. Vast, good afternoon.
What's happening, man? What's going on?
Not much at all. The question we're asking today is, why the hell does everything lean left? At least when you ask folks on the right, the media leans left. Fucking Disney leans left. Professional sports lean left. All of Hollywood, the music industry, everything leans left. What is it about the right side of the aisle that apparently is undesirable?
Morality and humanity.
Damn. Explain that.
Let's look at Disney. Kids. You love your kids, you see your kids, you want your kids to have a life that is enjoyable, and it I guess you know what I'm saying, makes you feel good to see your kids do good.
Right.
Basketball players come from come from situations where they come from bad places that were bad, and they're doing the best they can because they want to bring their whole family out of that situation, not just them. When you think of the conservatives, what you hear is I, me, in what they did, them personally. Most of them probably
Well,
don't even reach
wait
back.
a minute though. When you talk about the conservatives and me and what they did personally, are you talking about conservatives in general, or are you talking about Trump era politics?
Trump era politics. And
Okay, all right.
yeah, basically the Trump era politics. This is
Okay,
where, a lot of that
yeah.
came from. It's just,
So you would suggest that Trump has really hurt the conservative party in terms of how
oh yeah.
how that party is being viewed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. He definitely hurt him. He showed that they don't care. They don't give a damn about how you feel. They are concerned about what they feel is right, not whether or not how they're feeling it affects you, but how they think that it's right. That
Right.
they feel, as
Well, I
long as they
can't
feel it's
just
right.
the devil's advocate in me. I can't just let you get away with that statement without having you elaborate. Give me an example of something that you believe Trump did or a legislation he came up with that showed he doesn't give a damn about people.
Trump himself, I think Trump himself, I think he likes people. He just goes with what's popular at the time. But now, as far as like a piece of legislation, that tax code, man, come on, man.
But wait a
Corporations,
minute though. When you say
corporations, it
yeah, but when you say Trump goes with what's popular at the time, right now LGBT rights are popular. Why isn't he going with it?
because he's a Republican and it's not popular on the Republican side.
Okay, all right, all right.
LGBTQ is not popular on the Republican side, and he's running as a Republican. So therefore, Republican popularity doesn't matter to him.
Right. Let me interrupt you because I try to pay attention to the comments, even though I'm focusing on you. I oftentimes try to pay attention to the comments. In the comments, I got one comment. The Benders is responding to somebody else and saying Trump did not blow up the Twin Towers. What the fuck? Is there a
What?
rumor going
No,
around?
duh.
What the
Duh.
hell is
We all
that?
know that. I mean, seriously, dude. Like, why even say that? Trump didn't blow up the Twin Towers. Nobody's accusing Trump of blowing up anything.
No, somebody actually is. That's where it's coming from.
What? Nah, that's
Yeah.
stupid. And that's like, even, and here's my thing, even after this, like, if they don't arrest, like they was talking about, he said he was getting arrested on Tuesday. That was stupid on his part. But even if, after this, if they don't come out of nothing, leave that man alone. If he loses, let him lose. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear no more about, well, we think we're going to arrest him. No, you're not. Leave him alone. Let him run. If he loses, then he loses. If
Well,
the
I
dummies,
don't know. I actually. So you don't think he's going to be arrested? You don't think he's going to be indicted? Appreciate that, Cap. You don't think he's going to be indicted?
uh, I don't know, but I'm saying if he ain't, leave him alone. If you don't do it this time, leave it alone. I don't want to hear it no
Yeah.
more. Let him run. Let the people
But
vote.
keep in mind, they didn't announce they were going to arrest Trump. Trump did that himself.
I know. That's why I said that was dumb. I don't know why.
I don't know. Vass, are you? By the way, Dork Boy, thank you for the TikTok cap. I appreciate the generosity. I did see that. Vass, I don't know. You went silent over there, so he must have got a phone call. He's gone. See that they're giving so much free attention. Well, Tim, in regards to giving free attention to Trump, and many of my beloved MAGA will often refer to it as allowing him to live rent free in your head. Fact is, if a former president announces that he expects to be arrested the next day, you're going to get free attention all day, every day. Hell, Jimmy Carter on his deathbed, if he sent some shit out like that, it would be all over the news. I mean, folks, the former president is about to be arrested. That's going to be big news. I mean, Obama, Bush, anybody could announce that. So I don't really see it, and I know a lot of my folks on the right like to throw it out there. I don't see it as Trump derangement syndrome. I see it as Trump doing whatever he can to make sure he stays in the news. That's a big story. The president announcing he expects to be arrested the next day, that is a huge story. Nobody's going to be silent on that shit. All right, looking in the comments, Evan says it's called being narcissistic. Some would agree with that. I think he should smile for the camera. Well, how many of you folks out there, my Trump detractors, my never Trumpers, my Republicans even that are not fans of Trump and liberals alike. How many of you would be brave enough to wear a Trump in an orange? What did it make you wear when you do the mug shots? Just an orange shirt or some shit like that. I don't know if they would do Trump like that. He would probably have his own shit on, but he would have a mug shot front to the side. How many of you would put that shit on a shirt and be willing to wear that? Just want to figure that out, because that's a bold statement. Nevertheless, let's keep it moving. We'll go right back to the box. Redneck Billy Bob. Okay, all right. I see you. Let's make it happen. All right. Redneck Billy Bob. That is one hell of a name. I should be introducing you with banjos. Redneck Billy Bob.
Hey, man, with all of this political stuff, this is where I stand. I lean conservative, but I'm telling you right now, these folks in political positions, we need to, I don't want to say we want to be France, but we need to do something about all of these politicians, because every single one of them are taking money from somebody, and their agendas go along with their donors, period.
And I've heard that, but let me run it to you this way. I've heard a lot of Americans say exactly what you say, but when we got Trump, the whole purpose of that was he was not a typical politician. He was going to drain the swamp, and he was not going to do that. Do you think that Trump led us in a different direction from the complaints you're making about regular politicians?
No, I believe Trump. Here's the thing. I don't think anybody can buy Trump, and he's going to do what he wants to do. I voted for him the first time, but I don't know if I would vote for him the second time, just because I don't like his mouth. Wait
a minute. This is his third run. You voted for him in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. Did you vote for him in 2020 against Joe Biden?
Yeah, I sure did.
But you don't.
But I didn't vote the first time. I didn't vote the first time. I voted second time.
You didn't. Okay. There we go.
And I never got into politics until I was living in China when Bush went to war in Iraq. I never knew anything about politics. But then all of a sudden, these people from other countries that lived in China were asking me about Bush and asking me about the war, and I'm going, I don't know. I'm just a guy living in China. I have no clue what you're talking about. And I don't want to know. I don't watch any news. I don't watch podcasts. I don't watch political videos. I don't care, because they're all corrupt. All of them.
It's interesting as a man living in China, what you dealt with, because I was a man living in Australia during the Obama administration, and I got asked a lot of political questions as well. Now, I was into politics even back then, because I listened to Bill O'Reilly every day in Australia, but I will say this, a lot of that is because what we do here in America politically affects them. Like in America, nobody walks up to a Chinese person and asks them about their politics. We don't give a damn about what's going on over there. But our politics affects them. That's why they're asking. Like I used to tell my Australian folks, and they used to get pissed off when I would say this. I would tell them, it's like working for a big company. You could be in the elevator with your CEO. You know exactly who he is, because he runs your company. He controls what's going on in your life. He don't know who the hell you are. He could be standing right. You don't mean nothing to him. America is the CEO in the elevator. None of y'all mean nothing to us. You're going to be doing whatever we tell you to do. But everybody knows who America is. And it's a conceited thing to say, but a lot of Australians will say, yeah, you're right. Because if you go to war, we're coming to war. If we want to go to war, we got to ask you for permission.
Yeah. Trump is an enigma. That's what he is. I mean, he didn't come out of politics. He came out of business. Was he a good businessman? I think that's debatable. But, he did become rich. So, I mean, you can't say he was a bad businessman. Yeah, he had a lot of failings in business, but he's still up there, in the top part of the world with his finances. And, talking about other people in other countries, again, when I was in China, I was sitting in this bar. It's a little teeny tiny bar, a short L shape. And I'm sitting there, and there's a Scandinavian guy sitting next to me, and his friend is sitting over on the short part of the L. And we sat there for like 3 or 4 hours just chatting and having a good time. And the bar girls were in there hitting on us. And it took him, the one guy, at 4 hours. And he says, "Where are you from?" And I said, "From the United States." That guy immediately backed out of his bar stool, knocked it over, and was coming over getting ready to fight me because I was from the U.S.
Where was he from? China?
They were Scandinavian. I don't know if they're Norwegian or what. But he came after me, and I grabbed my beer bottle, and his buddy stops him and says, "No, no, 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 no." So they go outside, and it's just this little wooden door with single pane glasses in it, right? And I told the bartender, I said, "Well, let me pay up and let me get out of here." And so I paid up, and I was just standing up, and the door slammed, and it, boom! I was surprised it didn't break the glass. And that guy came at me again, and I grabbed my beer bottle again, and he runs over to me and he hugs me and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have acted like that." And it's like, oh my!
You shouldn't have won the alcohol talking.
Yeah, my heart was going like this.
Yeah. Now, but before I got to move it on. But before I do, I want to ask you this. Now that you stated you lean conservative, even though you weren't in Trump's first run, it looks like it's likely to come down to a Trump versus Biden rematch. If that happens in 2024, what you gonna do?
Man, I want to know who else is running besides Trump.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. Let's say you got a host of liberals running, a host of Democrats running, but at the end of the day, Trump gets the Republican nomination and Biden gets the Democratic nomination. Where are you going? That's what's likely to happen.
I think I'm going to have to go. I really think that Biden has some health issues. I'm not going to say what they are or what I think they are. I just think he has some health issues, and I don't think he'll last through the next term.
Okay, what about Trump versus Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I have to go with Trump. Kamala's got way too much. She's got way too many gas.
I get it. I had to ask.
Speaking of that, I got to ask you as a black man. Hold on, I got to ask you as a black man. Is Kamala Harris black or no? Oh, you froze up.
If Kamala Harris went out and robbed, let me respond to that. If Kamala Harris, the beautician, went out and robbed a liquor store and took off running from the police, and the police were chasing her, what do you think they would call her in the radio when they describe her? "I'm chasing a 5'5". What do you think they would say? A half Asian woman? No, they would say it's a black woman.
Yeah,
she's black.
I think you're right. I think you're right on that. Yeah, I think you're right on that. But I was just curious.
I will tell you this. I will say this, and to some degree, a lot of us Africans almost view it as from a racial standpoint. We got a lot of biracial people in this country, and what I personally myself often question is, why is it when they do something and become president or president? But well, that person is kind of white. But if Obama was up there knocking out Victor, he would be black as I am. So what I want to point out is that let's not let them lose their blackness when they start achieving shit. Because if he was out there committing crimes, he would be black as hell. But when he started doing good shit, well, he is kind of white. She does look a bit Asian. So just wanted to bring that up. Go ahead. I'll give you the last word, though, Redneck.
I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you letting everybody have a voice. That's something that's unheard of today. And I do believe that the media is bought and paid for by, I don't want to say Illuminati, but I will say central bankers. Central bankers control this world, man. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Rothschilds, the JP Morgans, all of those people way up there. Those are the people that control the world.
But you got to keep in mind, nowadays, the media is starting to be you and I. There's a hell of a lot of you and I media out there now. So it's not all up to ABC or Fox or CBS anymore.
Yeah.
You and I get a lot of the messages out now.
Yeah. And to the people that's kind of chastising me about bringing up as a black man, how would you view Kamala? That's not a racist comment. That's just an honest question. So your viewers that are chastising us for talking like this,
I get it all the
this is
time.
what's
I get
wrong
it.
with the world.
Listen,
That's what's wrong
listen.
with the world.
100% agree. I get it all the time. Redneck Billy Bob, I got to move it on. You are always welcome back. Appreciate you coming through, man. Good talk.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely a
Have
pleasure.
a good day.
Absolutely a pleasure. All right. That's why they want to ban TikTok. Whiskey Golf, friend of the program. Yeah, you know, China has because this is something Trump pointed out. One of the areas where I do favor a Trump conversation. China has reversed so much of our technology and ignored patents, ignored international law, and made it so that it was their own. Hell, they even reverse engineered the F-22 Raptor, the jet. They have a jet that looks just like the damn F-22 without following any of the patents from Lockheed or any of the inventors. Why can't we reverse engineer TikTok? How easy would it be for Google or Mark Zuckerberg, which I know a lot of my beloved MAGA don't have any love for Mark Zuckerberg, but they could make this damn app for America. China has not observed any patents. They do it all the time. They steal our technology. This would be a huge steal to China. I'm just saying. I'm just bringing it up that way. All right, let me keep it going before they cut my ass off the air. Jay Piano Man, welcome to Graham. The U.S. runs TikTok. I think the U.S. spying on TikTok, but no, it's in fact the CEO of TikTok was on the damn app the other day. How many of you folks seen it? Piano Man, good afternoon.
What up? What up? Would you like to know what's wrong?
Not much at all. Why the hell does everything? Why does everything lean left?
Well, I'm changing my name to Eileen Left. And what's wrong with America is
You're going to identify the left leader.
It's because we're the ones who are using the truth and not lies, like Donald Trump. And what's wrong with America is people like Billy Bob who don't believe the truth, facts, documentation that's coming out in regards to Donald J. Trump and the things that he's done corrupt. They don't care about it. You know, the thing is
wait a minute. I gotta defend it. Wait.
Yeah,
I gotta defend left because he didn't say he believed anything from Donald Trump, did he?
He would vote for Donald Trump again. I heard him say it.
Oh yeah, I heard him say that. But you gotta understand, left and right also don't believe in saying allowing a woman to have an abortion, or they're not in favor of LGBT rights. They're going to vote right. It doesn't necessarily mean they like Trump. It's just that they're voting for that side of the aisle because it's along the line of what their principles are. Like, right. For instance, I believe a woman has the right to choose. So I'm not likely to vote for a Republican that thinks otherwise.
Right, exactly. And the thing is this, you know, the young lady who you had, the young lady you're friends with who called you raccoon or whatever, Florida has taken Rosa Parks' issue and dropped it to it was a dispute over a seat, and end of story.
Did they really do that?
Yeah, they did that.
A dispute over a seat. They threw the broad in jail.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're not doing that anymore. And like with books, they're taking out Jackie Robinson books, Willie Mae books. So I mean, the Republicans are. I've told you before, man, how I think the Republicans are doing. I've said it to you before. But the thing is this. Let me draw your attention to something. You know how Donald Trump said that he was going to be indicted and arrested on Tuesday?
Right.
Okay. Right now, on April 25th, E. Jean Carroll and Donald Trump have a court case face to face for him graping her. Not the defamation case. The judge says that she's putting the presidential comment defamation case aside. Now, on April 25th, Donald Trump has to sit in court for the graping of E. Jean Carroll.
Wait a minute, though. You said the judge is going to put aside what the case that he was supposed to get arrested for on Tuesday?
No. E. Jean Carroll filed a defamation case because he called her a liar while he was a sitting. For that?
So the one that accused him of assaulting or raping her, as you say,
right?
She's suing him for defamation, and they putting that aside.
Well, yeah, because the main one, when he was president, see, there's a difference. When he was president, he's trying to use the comment that he's a president, he can't be made, he can make a comment. The thing is this,
executive privilege,
the judge is putting that on hold. So on November 24th at 12:01, E. Jean Carroll filed a grape charge because New York extended the statute of limitation for 1 year. On April 25th, next month, they are sitting in court for the grape case. He has to be. He is sitting in front of the court for graping her. Those are going forth. They're making the jury hidden, so the private, so they don't know who the people are. So
for their safety.
So because Trump, what Trump did yesterday, saying that he was being arrested for Tuesday, everybody's overlooking the grape case. Trump has a grape case.
What is the name of the alleged victim? I want to look that up. What is the name of the alleged victim in that? You said April 25th.
E. Jean Carroll. The letter E and then Jean, Jean, Carroll, Carroll.
And that's April. God damn.
Yeah.
I don't know how this guy keeps up with all this shit. He got so many cases.
It is set in stone. April 25th.
When is she alleging? Because I'm assuming it's long as time ago. Because you mentioned the statute of limitations. When is she suggesting that this assault happened?
Like 95, 96.
How the hell do you? I mean, it happened with Bill Cosby, I guess. But
yeah.
How does somebody prove you did something 30 years ago?
Just like Monica Lewinsky in the dress with Clinton, she has the DNA of Donald Trump on her dress.
Well, if you go by DNA, hell, I could be held accountable for graping the entire Jockey administration for all the socks.
Well,
I put DNA on.
You can't. I mean, there should not be any. Don't put a caveat on graping a woman.
No, but I'm saying just because I happen to bust one on your socks or on your sheet, how can you keep that alone and say that I assaulted you? That just says maybe I had a really good time in your vicinity.
Handsome. There's a difference between that and physically overcoming a woman and penetrating her unwillingly.
You're not hearing what I'm saying.
All
if a woman shows up and she can show your DNA on her clothing, that does not mean that you were not committing a consensual act. The DNA alone does not lead to grape, as you put it. It just leads to the belief that, or the knowledge that, okay, he did have an orgasm in her vicinity. But that doesn't mean it wasn't consensual.
Well, that's the thing with Donald Trump and his own verbiage. I can grab a woman by the crotch.
Yeah.
And then plus the thing is she's allowed to bring in two other witnesses or two other people who Donald Trump has SA'd into this case.
God.
I mean, let's put it this way. I love Bill Cosby. I grew up with him as a kid. If he's guilty, he should have gone to jail.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was Dr. Huxtable.
And I hear you. I think that case is going to be extremely difficult to prove because, like you said, they're going to be using his grab them by the comments, and most of that stuff is all going to be speculatory. But when it comes down to actually proving that he physically did something to her, presenting the evidence of an orgasm doesn't do that. Because, like I said, my sock drawer could do that. I mean, so this is what is going to lead folks to suggest that it's just a witch hunt, and they're just throwing everything they can at the President Trump. And I'm not saying Trump is innocent by any means.
Right.
I'm just saying that you're going to have a hell of a time trying to prove this.
Well, that's just it. His own words. He walked into the dressing rooms of naked underage teens. Him and Jeffrey Epstein. Him saying that he could grab him by the hoo ha. Him saying that he pops a tic tac in his mouth because if they're attractive, it's just like a magnet. He has to go up and kiss them. Donald Trump's own words of saying that he and his daughter Ivanka have sex in common. People coming out left, right, and center. The
But then
26.
I have to.
Huh?
I get all of the rhetoric, but then I get everything you're saying, but then I come back to exactly what right libertarian is saying in the comments. Why wait 20 years? I mean, you could have been came out on this guy.
Well, I
Why
mean,
wait 20
seriously,
years to
think
come
about it.
forward?
Think about it. You're trying to say it's the woman's fault for not coming out 20 years earlier. Look at the turmoil women have to go through when they bring accusations of things like this. They have to go through, well, what were you wearing? What were you doing? It's your fault. They have all this mental turmoil inside their head. I can't say anything because I'll be attacked. I'll be called a liar. I'll be called a slut. I'll be called this. That's what's going on right now. Why did she do it? Why did she wait 20 years? It's the straw that broke the camel's back. Why do you think Donald Trump made these comments about these women, and then all of a sudden you have 26 different women with the same story? He got me in a private room. He pushed up against me. He started kissing me, putting his hands over me. 26 different women who don't know each other, the same technique of Donald Trump, getting them away from a crowd, getting them into a room, kissing them. Now you also have the accusations with Stormy Daniels. Same thing, the payoff.
Yeah.
Hush
Well,
money.
Stormy does say it was consensual, but that's a whole. But I mean, I
Right.
get what
Yeah,
you're saying. I
exactly.
mean, but keep in mind, a bunch of women came forward on Bill Clinton, and he survived it. So understand that this doesn't necessarily mean Trump is going to go down
Well,
because
you know what?
there was a lot of women on Bill Clinton too.
You know why Bill Cosby got released, right?
Because they promised him that they were not going to use that against him, and they
Right.
did. So, well, actually, wait a minute. If you really want to bring Bill Cosby into it, the whole reason Bill Cosby ever got hemmed up to begin with is because he did get in an interrogation room and give that same grab him by the you know what statement by admitting he was
Exactly.
using quaaludes on a woman. If Bill
Spanish,
Cosby had
Spanish,
just observed
Spanish
the
fly,
basic
Spanish fly,
what? Well, yeah,
Spanish
yeah,
flies.
yeah. But you
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
If Bill Cosby had observed the basic street level gang banging tenets, which is shut the hell up when it comes to talking to police, he would have never been dealing with any of that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's the thing with Donald Trump. He has come out and said he's done certain things,
yeah,
and then he
yeah,
says, "Oh, it's just locker room talk," right?
yeah.
But there's an April 25th case proceeding, and the jury is going to be secretive, so nobody knows their name, so they don't get attacked. But it is going forth.
E. Jean Carroll. I'll look it up. All right, I got to move it on, piano
All
man.
right, my
Damn, that's a
man.
lot of cases for one guy. A lot of cases for one.
See you,
Jeez.
bro.
Absolute, absolute. E. Jean Carroll. I think I heard the name before, but I didn't know it was supposed to proceed as of April 25th. But that likely will be a show in the future. God damn. How many cases can one guy deal with? Now, I will say this. Even if all of this stuff orbiting around the former president is a witch hunt, I'm just going to be honest from my own personal standpoint. At some point, I would back off just for the sake of my family. I mean, listen, I understand folks believe that the guy wants to do what's right by America, wants to make America a stronger country and things like that. But you see Nancy's been like a nail and shit and trying to hammer him. She's kind of backed off. I mean, at some point, you got to pay attention to the protection and safety of your family. You see Trump's daughter is now distancing herself from her father. I mean, his family is taking a hit from this shit. If Trump's legacy goes down where he comes across as, and I'm talking to my beloved MAGA because I know you don't agree with this and that's fine, but if his legacy goes down that he staged a coup or they pin a racist label or some shit on him, that affects his family. Trump will be gone in 20 years. But that affects all of them. So at some point, your aspirations to be president, while noble indeed, you may have to start thinking, well, what about my family? I kind of wonder, and you guys let me know in the comments, you think Melania Trump and some of those folks really want him to keep doing this? Because Melania Trump could be just chilling, riding off into the sunset with all Trump's money. But now, because of everything that has went down, there are places in this country that Melania Trump probably wouldn't feel comfortable going anymore. Certainly in liberal areas, they boo the shit out of her. She can't just walk around anywhere. She's not Jackie Onassis. Let me keep it going back to the comments. And it is Anthony 61. I appreciate you holding there, Anthony. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 25,000. 500 plus of us in here. Show your boy some love. Helps out the algorithms. Anthony, good afternoon.
What's going on, Big Tom?
Not much at all. The original question we were asking is, why does everything lean left? Hollywood, professional sports, colleges and universities, the media. Why do folks believe that everything in this country leans left? What is it about the right that apparently is undesirable to all these entities?
Is it leaning left or is it inclusivity?
What do you mean?
The right's just not that inclusive. The right's like a all boys club, sort of say, you know. They have their old clients. They have history. And they want to hold on to all of that. So that makes them not that an inclusive club.
So how do you respond to someone like Bionic Man Keith, who would suggest that's all in your mind? That's not reality. That's just how you think.
It's all in your politics.
Elaborate. What do you mean?
Can you name me a conservative policy that's inclusive?
Well, didn't Ronald Reagan?
Take your time. We shouldn't have to go back that far. Yeah, we shouldn't have to go back that far though.
Yeah. I don't. I guess we got a point there. But I was gonna say Ronald Reagan made Martin Luther King a holiday.
Shit, Ronald Reagan been dead for over 20 years. Well, I mean, you know.
I can't hate. I can't hate on that. I can't hate on that. Name of now. I can't recall it off the top of my head, but I do believe George W. Bush has done a few things that were, well, I'm gonna bring up what they always bring up. Trump supposedly allocating money to HBCUs.
In all actuality, you and I, we're adults, right? You and I are adults. We know that financially you have good years and you have bad years. Well, that plan that Donald Trump gave to HBCUs, even though he came out and touted it as him being the first president to do it, he's also the first president, which he didn't mention, to handcuff those universities to the same amount allocated money for 10 years. When we know the cost of living fluctuate, goes up and down.
Yeah.
So in actuality, how did he help them? He really didn't.
What about him working with Kim Kardashian to try to at least lean towards criminal justice reform? I think he pardoned, he actually got a couple people out, African Americans.
Why is the first one or two things that Republicans mention when they're talking about helping black people has to do with criminals? All of us aren't criminals. Matter of fact, the majority of us aren't criminals.
While I agree with that, I do believe that if we could do something to reform the criminal justice system, that should be noteworthy among African Americans, because that is the system that essentially replaced slavery and continued targeting us. If you could make that system fairer, I don't think there's anything bigger you could do for African Americans than make the criminal justice system more fair, because the amount of African Americans that have been netted in that system is probably worse than anything else we could talk about that is anti-African American.
Agreed. But I would argue, why spend that much money on incarcerating us and not spend that money on educating us. Let's stop the problem at the source.
Well, the answer is simple. There's a hell of a lot more money to be made from certain people in incarceration than education. If it allows me to make money by charging your family a fortune for you to simply call home, I charge you $2 for a damn bar of soap. Family a fortune for you to simply call home. I charge you $2 for a damn bar of soap. So I would rather you be incarcerated for my pocketbook than you to go out and get an education and now compete with me.
So with you causing the problem, how can you then go out and say that you're correcting a problem that you caused?
Well, I
You
don't
know,
think
that's
I wouldn't blame over incarceration or even disparity incarceration on Trump. You don't blame that on
no,
Trump, do you?
I didn't, no, I'm not blaming it on Trump, but what I'm saying is if we have a better education system, if we spend the time and money to provide education, then we prevent all of this unnecessary incarceration. Now, I
Yeah,
agree
but
with you if you
you
want,
didn't hear what I said. Go ahead.
yeah, no, if you want to fix the incarceration system, if you want to help us fix the incarceration system, let's stop incarcerating people for all these non these victimless crimes.
You know, I pointed that out often in some of my debates where folks talk about how liberals are too soft on crime, or you hear about some guy gets out and kills somebody after he was let out on something with a slap on the wrist and he should have been in jail. And I say the same thing. If we were not locking up so many people for non-violent crimes and things like that, we could do a better job in properly focusing on people who should be in jail. It's simply put, it's too damn easy in this country to get locked up. We got too draconian on locking people up. So what's happened is the liberal side of the aisle has tried to fix the problem by letting every damn body out. So some of the wrong people are getting out, but the fact is, let's say the war on drugs or even Biden's crime bill, we got too tough on crime to the point where we got more people in jail in this country than any damn where else because it became so easy to get locked up. So that's why I say, because it generally nets African Americans, if you could fix the incarceration problem in this country, you would do more for African Americans than anything, even reparations. Fixing the incarceration problem would be more beneficial to African Americans than anything else you could come up with.
I, I disagree. I mean, I understand completely what you're saying. We can all sit down and have this conversation, and this can also be a part of it. But I think that we're over mediaized as far as us being the ones that's going to prison all the time. Um, I think that yes, the prison system is the scales are tilted our way. That's a fact. That's a fact. But the people that I'm an ex felon. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. I'm a felon. I've been to prison. So when I say that the only thing that has kept me from the recidivism, how you say that, going back,
Recidivism. Yeah.
the recidivism, the only thing to stop the recidivism for me is I took the time while I was there to educate myself.
How
You know,
easy
so
was that? Let me ask you that in regards to you educating yourself, which is what a correctional facility is supposed to do. How much in favor or helpful was the facility towards you doing what you wanted to do? You wanted to get your life right. You wanted to become educated. How much in favor of that was the facility you were? Did they make materials available? Were there people to help you? Did that seem like something they genuinely wanted you to do?
oh no, I mean, you're going, prison is a small community, basically. You out, motherfuckers out there, people in there hustling, people do what they do. You know, you gotta survive. So you're put in a
Yeah.
situation where you're stuck for one, depending on how much time you have. You know you're not going anywhere. You're not given the necessities that you need. You're only given, um, it's barely the bare necessities. So, no, you have to find the time to whatever time that you get in prison, you either do the time or the time does you. And I chose to do my time making myself better. You know, you can go in there and jack off 3 years if you choose to. That's your
Yeah.
choice. But I took the time to, I wasn't a great reader when I went into prison. I read a whole lot better, because I took the time to read. And it wasn't about just reading things that would get me locked back up or have me dreaming about the streets. I read a lot of things, and that's the personal choice I made.
Where
You
did that
know,
come from? Where did now you obviously did something to get in jail, which is counterproductive, but once you got in jail, you became more self-productive. Where did that motivation come from? What made was it the sentence itself? What made you change from bad to good, so to speak?
you want the truth?
That's the only thing I want to hear.
When I went to prison, I was a grown man. I've always done what I did in the streets, and I always knew that I had the ability to do time because that came with the decisions that I made. We don't go into this blind. Most of us don't anyway, especially the ones that make it. I always knew that I could do time, but in the process, I created two lives. And what I didn't put into the equation is that the decisions that I decided that I could live with, I didn't put them two into that equation, because I had made the decision a long time ago. So when I was taken away from my sons, when I was taken away from my boys, when um I wasn't I didn't have the ability to raise my kids. That
Mm.
is what changed
Now, were you
my
were
my
you
reality.
incarcerated? Now you must were you incarcerated at an older age? Because at some level,
Yeah,
we at
yeah,
some age
yeah,
we
yeah.
tend to.
I was.
Yeah,
I was.
there you go. All right, because
I,
at some point, at, at some point, a lot of that mentality goes out of us, no matter what. Kind of reminds me of Morgan Freeman at the end of Shawshank. All of the criminal element was just out of the man. I mean, you're not doing drive-bys at my age, for instance. So
that
sometimes
that
maturity
moment
just comes with age.
that moment when you realize that you know you can't pay your way out of something. That was the
Yeah.
situation. Been here, done this, and played the court systems, and done the probations and all of that. I've been in the streets my whole life. You feel what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it was that one that you can't pay your way out of this one.
Mm. Wow.
So
Well, it's good to have you back out here, man, doing what's right on the right side of the law and all of that good shit. So it's always good to hear from you, man. It's always good to hear from you. I
always.
do got to move it on, but you know what we do, man. Come on back anytime.
That's why I told you. I know you mastered Reaganomics. Don't play with me. I see it in you.
I got it.
All
I
right,
got
man.
it after we talked about it. 100%. 100%. Catch you later.
Have a go.
You too. All right, looking in the comments. By the way, folks, if this is what you enjoy, civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, even though the program is MAGA friendly, always will remain MAGA friendly. We do invite liberals on the program as well. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000 likes. There is never any fear of censorship or being banned for your commentary. The fact that you might disagree with the host, who gives a shit, is your First Amendment free speech right? Which is always protected here. So there's no reason to ever worry about being banned or blocked because you have a different opinion from everybody on the program. We still let you talk, give you plenty of time to state that. All right, looking in the comments, MAGA Naga. Ooh. Ooh. I know where you're going with that. NAGGA, MAGA Naga. Wow. Wow, that's hard. I left the Democrats party because of the lies. Do you think that now that let me turn on my air here. You left the Democratic Party because of the lies, because of dishonesty. Do you believe you have found an honest party now that say you're with Trump? Do you see President Trump as being honest? Have to ask that. They used to correct inmates for reentry with degrees. They removed all of that, so they're not as productive. Well, Rochester Rays. Here's the problem. America has a very draconian stance on when it comes to incarceration. We not only want bad people incarcerated, we want them to have a very bad time while incarcerated. So you start hearing things like, I don't want them eating better than I do. If I got to pay to go to school, they should not get free school while they're in college or incarcerated. If I got to pay for cable TV, they should not have it in there. I want their life while they are incarcerated to be as awful as possible. But when they get out, I expect them to be upstanding, nice, kind citizens. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. And if you look at countries around the world that have the lowest rates of recidivism, the lowest rates of inmates that return back to prison after being released, you'll find one thing that seems to be common across the board. They treat the convicts like human beings while they're incarcerated. The countries that treat the prisoners like shit release shitty prisoners. Yet in America, we continue to push towards harsher and harsher treatment to those who are incarcerated, such as Sheriff Joe Arpaio down in Arizona in his jails, had them wearing pink clothing, making them eat expired meats and things like that, sleeping in tents out in the middle of the desert where it's hot with no air conditioning. Just treat them overall like shit, because the belief from that side of the aisle is if I treat you like crap, it will disincentivize you to get out and commit a crime so that you don't come back in. Well, I think the numbers of recidivism in this country has proven that that doesn't work. Treating people like shit actually hardens them. It actually makes them into worse people than they were before they went in. So yeah, if you look around the country around the world rather, at other nations that have lower rates of recidivism, you will notice they treat their inmates far better than they do in the United States. Just the way it is. All right, looking in the comments, or better at the box. Adrian Wilson. Appreciate you. Pretty sure that you will go back to prison. It does make it more likely. That is true. Adrian, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Regional topic we were asking is, why does everything lean left in this country? Colleges, universities, professional sports, the media. Why does everything lean left?
I really don't know, sir. I'm an independent, to be honest with you. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. I go for who has the best policies and that's going to do what's best for this country. But I wondered that myself. Why is everything went woke or going that way? Because I remember growing up, you didn't, when I grew up, everybody was all cool. I mean, I grew up. It didn't matter what color you were. I learned how, to play sports. Whatever, we all played together. We all had, there was no divide. So that's
Well,
why. That's why when I
here,
kind of like I said I wouldn't be Republican or Democrat. I would be an independent because I want to be able to make my own thoughts and make my own decision of who has the best ideas for what I think.
well, let me ask you this, because this is coming in the
Yes, sir.
comments over and over again.
Yes, sir.
Elaborate on your definition of woke. What is woke to you?
This kind of like it's hard to believe media nowadays, to be honest with you, because that to me wokeism is more like, okay, if you don't believe a certain thing, well, you're woke. Like if you don't believe, for instance, if I have a little boy, he's got autism, and he doesn't know any better. And if somebody tries, I'm not suggesting it, but so somebody tries to tell my boy that he's a girl, and he's actually a boy, he's got autism, he's got special needs, things like that. It's like things in the educational system, things that other things like that. Then you've got like if you're and I'm also like if we're going to treat one party candidate like Trump one way, we need to treat the other candidate the other way. That's why I stay in the middle, because both of
So let
them.
me ask you this. Let me
Yeah,
let me let me present it to you this way, because when I asked you about
yeah,
elaborating on what woke is, you're talking about how, if you don't believe one thing this way. let's go. I'm gonna take it to, let's say, the civil rights era. When Martin Luther
Yes, sir.
King was, for instance, fighting for civil rights, he would go in these towns and say that African Americans were being mistreated,
Yeah.
and the townspeople would say that he's wrong. In other words, these colored people down here were doing just fine until you came here and started stirring up trouble. I don't know why you keep going around the South doing this. Would you refer to Martin Luther King as being woke?
No, sir, I wouldn't. To be honest with you, Martin Luther King, what he was trying to do was bring peace. I thought was trying to bring peace for everyone. And I wrote a paper in school about it. I also wrote a paper about JFK in school, also, because he tried to stop he was trying to stop the Vietnam War, in my opinion. And same thing with Martin Luther King, because Martin Luther King, he came, you talk about what he tried to do. Because I'm from the South, I'm from Georgia, and what he tried to
Then
do
why did he
back
face
then,
so much resistance? Then why did
I
he
don't.
face so much resistance?
That's why I don't understand. It's crazy. And to be honest, he was just trying to bring everybody together. That's the way I always look at it.
Yeah,
I'm a peaceful type person, and I have a hard time believing why everybody everybody's gonna have different politics, different beliefs, and everything. That's why I stay independent, because I'm gonna do what I think. If I go to vote, if I don't like what somebody stands for, keep
yeah.
us
Let me
safe,
ask you.
keep me and you safe, and keep our country safe,
Yeah.
and make all of us prosper instead of just being
Okay.
all this
Well,
chaos that's going on now.
let me ask you to you this way. Let's say I'm
Yeah,
in the South, and right
yeah,
now Confederate
yeah,
statues come up in the news all the time. You got a Confederate statue,
yeah,
Sam Houston or General Lee or some of these guys, and there's a plaque that's below it. And on the plaque, it talks about the great contributions that this Confederate made, or fighting against the big man, and fighting for
yeah.
states' rights and things like that. But it
Yes,
doesn't
sir.
mention any of the negative things this guy may have fought for. If I want to introduce all of the bad things that this guy fought for, as opposed to just the good things on the plaque, would that make me woke?
No, sir. Because if you're going to talk about
Okay,
history, you have to talk about the whole history of the country. You can't just
okay.
talk about one part and just let the other one drop. You have to talk about all history, because
So what?
good with the bad.
So if you got folks down in, let's say, the state of Florida fighting with Ron DeSantis because they
Yeah,
believe he is trying to squelch parts of history, what
yeah.
would be the difference from that?
There's no difference, because to me, I think you've got it. Like we're just talking about now, you have to talk. If you're going to talk history, you have to talk the good with the bad. You know what I mean? About the United States. Just like with the Indians, what happened to the Indians, you have to talk about that. You have to talk about everything. You have to talk about good, bad,
But you're starting to
everything.
sound woke. You actually are starting to sound
But
woke right in the middle of our conversation.
yeah, yeah, but that's when I yeah, I know what you're getting at, but when I talk history, you have to talk everything. That's why I stay kind of like
Yeah.
independent. When I talk woke, I talk about like if you don't agree with like what somebody's saying, like
Like
businesses.
Confederates were good people. What if you don't believe what
Not
somebody's saying, that the Confederate
yeah,
flag is pride and heritage? That's not believing what somebody's saying. That's what we're talking about.
yeah, and I just believe with history, you have to teach the whole history. If somebody wants to call me woke, they can call me woke, but I think you have to talk about the good and the bad. So I got nothing against that. I mean, it has to be
I
talked
don't,
about.
I don't, and that's why I asked you to clarify
Yeah,
your definition of woke, because based
yeah.
on your definition and what you're saying about yourself, you are essentially sipping on coffee while taking no dose. You're wide awake, man. You
Yeah,
sound woke. I'm just telling you, based on your
I know it
definition,
does,
you woke.
but I'm just like, it's like, okay, for instance, right now, which I'm independent, so I'm not for either Trump or Biden. But if you're going to talk about Trump and all the things that went on with Trump, you got to talk about Biden too. You
That's
understand
fine.
what I'm saying? You
That's
have to
fair.
talk about both sides. You can't just talk about one side and not talk about the others. That's why I stay independent, because both of them have got, one's got some things they've done, one's got the other. and I
But
stay
that does,
independent.
but that you have to admit that does happen. I mean, if you turn,
Yeah,
let's say Trump is going through trial, but you turn on Fox News, they're talking about Biden. They're
I
talking
know.
about the
Yes,
Hunter
sir.
Biden's laptop. They are doing that.
Yes, sir. That's why I
Yeah.
kind of tune away from the. I tune away from the mainstream watching TV. Period. Like I watch TV, but no, I don't watch that. I make decisions based on what's best. I think what's best for my family, what's best for this country, what's best for every one of us, and
So
everything.
you
So
don't
that's why
agree. So you don't agree with what the mainstream media is telling you. You do your homework and you find your
I do.
information
I
from.
do my. I do my homework. Yes, sir.
You're being woke. You are media woke now. You're still woke, man. You're wide
But you
awake.
understand. But I get what you're saying. But I don't follow. I don't go either side. I just stay right down the middle.
Yeah,
And like I
but I'm
said, if
just
you're,
saying
I
that
mean,
according to your definition, you don't
yeah,
just buy into what people say. If you
yeah.
disagree with what people say, that makes you woke. You're admitting, based on that definition, you are.
Well, I believe everybody has their own opinions. It's like you have, your opinion. I have my opinion. Doesn't
That's
mean
what the
to me that
woke
don't mean.
people say. They have
That's
their
what
opinion
I
of
know. That's what woke
LGBT.
people say.
Yeah,
But I'm totally different. I'm just independent. Like with presidency, I'm for who's best for the country. I don't look at anything else. I said, who's going to make sure that we're not in the next war? Who's going to make
mm,
sure who's going to make sure that, like, I know you have a family as well. I don't know. Who's going to make
yes.
sure that my family's going to have food on the table? Who's going to make sure I got an income coming in to fulfill my family? Who's going to make
But
sure I got a
let's
job
put
to
it
pay my
this way.
bills?
But
That's
look
where
at
I
it
look
this
at
way.
it.
We had four. Now I know you're an independent, but we had 4 years of Obama, or 8 years of
Yeah,
Obama, 4 years of Trump. We've had now 2+ years of Biden. I don't think anybody in America is really losing weight from hunger. I mean, we've had food on our table under all these guys.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, down, inflation and stuff like that. It's been tight when you go to the grocery store. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know if you've seen the grocery bills here lately. And you go in there and you come out and you got a little boy that's about 10 years old. You come out with just barely a little bit coming out, and you spend almost $250, and then
yeah,
half your check is gone before you even pay a power bill, before you even try to keep a roof over your head. No, you
yeah.
think about things like that. And
I don't
that could be
disagree.
with Trump, that could be with Biden, that could be with anybody. You think
So
about
let me.
that.
So I got
Yeah.
to move it on. But before I do, let me ask you this last question because
Yes,
it's
sir.
looking like we may, even as an independent, I'm assuming you do vote. So it's coming down to what looks like a rematch between Trump and Biden. If that happens, what are you going to do?
I'm really going to have to really think about it and see where it is at the time, and see where the country, you see where
What if it
my
was today? What
mindset
if
is.
it was today? What if today the vote was today, right now, with what's going on in America? It came down to Trump or Biden. What you doing?
To be honest with you,
That's all I want.
and I'm being independent now. I'm not Republican, Democrat. I'm being independent. After these last couple of years, and where we're at right now, I got to go Trump because I think Biden's at that age where age shouldn't play a part of it. But man, I mean
Well,
these foreign
I was going to
countries are really
say.
take. I think the foreign countries are taking advantage of him because of his
There we
age.
go. Okay. I was going to say
That's what I think.
age. If you're going to vote for Trump or Biden,
Yeah,
age
he's
cannot
gonna.
play a
Yeah,
part of it because they too
yeah.
damn close
Trump.
in age.
Yeah, you're right. Trump's gonna be up in age too. It's just,
Yeah.
if I had to go right now, I could go Trump. But like I said, I'm an independent too, and if things change, all right, things whatever, and all this mumbo jumbo political, and everybody starts, which is hard to do nowadays to see things
Yeah. Let me give
logically.
you one
I
more.
gotta go.
Let me give you
Yeah.
one more. If you had to vote today and it was primary time, not general, but primary, Ron DeSantis versus Trump, what you doing? If you had to vote today,
That's a good question. Good question. If DeSantis decides, do you think DeSantis is going to decide to run? That's the thing.
absolutely. Yes. Yes. I'd bet money on it twice. And I would bet money on it and I would pay 3-1 odds. Yeah.
I would have to look at his policies. and I would have to compare it to Trump's policies and see whose policies are going to be better
Shit,
for
they're
me and
gonna
my
be the
family.
same. They're
They're going
gonna
to be the same.
probably be the same.
Basically, everybody's going to run off, what Trump ran the last time. I agree with you. They're going to
Yeah.
run. Every Republican is going to try to run off that policy, and it's whatever they, But like I said, it's a just right now. Everything is such chaos because now it's
Do you think you would escape chaos if Trump is reelected?
right now. I don't know because these foreign countries are going. You're talking about Iran trying to get a nuke. You're talking about Israel telling, say, we ain't playing that. If Iran does that, then you got Ping with Putin. Then you have the
Yeah, but
Ukraine.
Iran,
Yeah, and I,
Israel
hey, things are, if they get one, and if we, it's crazy, man. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but
It's crazy.
some of that stuff is not anything that's happening new under
Yeah,
Trump or Biden. Some of that stuff has been
neither
going on
one.
since we were in school.
I know. I agree. Yes, sir. You're right. You're
Yeah.
exactly right. And I agree with you. And I agree with a lot. Like I say, I agree with a lot of your people to call in and everything. And then, like I say, I worry about like not right. I worry about now, but I worry about the future also. And that's why I stay independent minded because I got a kid coming up with autism, and I don't want you know I would like to see peace. I like to see that. That's wishful thinking in my opinion because it can't happen.
Yeah.
But
How do you feel about?
the divide in this country is just crazy, man. Because when I was growing up, look, I grew down here in the South, and I grew down in Georgia, and I know you did too. Look, man, I didn't. People might have knew what racism was. I didn't know what racism was because most of my friends, I guess I could say, were black. I had black, white,
Well,
Mexican,
I'll tell you
and
something. In regards to that, I will tell you this.
yeah,
African Americans have
yeah,
been complaining about racism since day one.
yeah,
The difference when you and I were growing up is
yeah,
they didn't have the power, they didn't have the floor, they didn't have the microphone, they didn't have cameras. And here's the example. For instance, you hear us complain about police all the time now, and folks go, well, "Why the hell are they just complaining about police? Why weren't they doing it back then?" Fact is,
yes, sir,
any African American based program you look at, I'm talking about going back as far as the Jeffersons or Sanford and Son, any
yes, sir,
program that has a predominant African American cast has had at least one episode devoted to police doing something wrong to one of the cast members. Even Family
yes, sir.
Matters with Steve Urkel, where the dad
Mm-hmm.
was a cop, they had an episode devoted to police mistreating blacks. So it's
Yes,
not
sir.
that we didn't complain about it, it's just nobody was listening. But we've
Yeah.
always, when you say you haven't heard about racism, it's because it
Well,
was being
yeah,
squelched and silenced.
yeah. And close to my upbringing, it's like we always looked. Is my dad brought me up, and my mom brought me up. It's like we all are equal. And I don't know if most families do that nowadays. That's what I
Well,
try
they
to do with
weren't
my
doing
son and
any.
my wife.
Well, wait a minute. But if you
I
grew up
don't.
in Georgia in the
Yeah.
'70s and '80s, or back further than that, then you would have to admit they weren't treating people as equal in Georgia
No,
back
they
then.
wouldn't. No, they
Yeah.
wouldn't. But my family
Okay.
didn't. My family didn't preach that to me. They preached to treat it. My family wasn't that way. They treated me to
Okay.
treat people equal. It wasn't. It
Well,
wasn't
yeah, but
something.
you're
It
not
wasn't something.
gonna. Let's just be honest. You're not gonna find anybody that's going to come out and say, my family
Yeah.
was treating black people like shit back then. The fact is,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, and I don't know your family, so I'm not accusing you or your family of anything, but I
Yeah.
will tell you this. Racism is kind of like Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. You look at some of the things that happened during the Civil Rights era. For instance,
Mm-hmm.
Plessy versus Ferguson, or Topeka, where the kids trying to go to a white school and there are
Yeah.
parents spitting on the child and things like that. All of
Yeah.
those folks are not dead. Try finding one of them that will come out and admit to you, yeah, I was a white person in that crowd spitting on a kid because I didn't want them to go to school. They're not going to admit it. So when
Yeah.
you say you didn't see it, I agree with that because it is
Yeah.
hidden. I mean, even the Klan wore masks. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to come out and say I mistreat people just because they look a certain way. So you're never going to see it because the
But
goal is for you not to know what's happening.
but can we agree on one thing too? It's
Sure.
about your upbringing. If you're brought up the right way to not see, I mean, you know it's there, but
Yeah.
if your parents are bringing you up the right way and they're teaching you, say, look, we don't do that. They said he's just as he's like your. I was brought up. He's like your brother because like I learned everything. I mean, they come people come to my house. My dad was like a father figure because a lot of them didn't have fathers, but we played sports, so we were all grew up together. And every time we see each other now, we hug each other because
Well,
it's all about our upbringing. It's like
but see, here's,
can we
here's
agree
the
with that?
problem. Here's
Yeah,
the problem, though. While you and your family may have been totally in favor of equality, which a lot of white people were back then. I mean, hell,
yeah,
even only 1% of white people owned slaves, so it wasn't like the whole country was racist. The problem is there were too many people who stood by and did nothing.
yeah,
So
you're
that the
right.
1 or 2% that were really bad could get away with it. So your family was totally in favor of being friends with black people and things like that. But if a cop was beating the hell out of one of them on the side of the road, they would just drive by it. That's where the problem is too
Yeah,
many decent people turn their back and allowed it to happen. So you
yeah,
don't need everybody to do it when you're allowing the few people who want to do it to get
yeah.
away with it. I got to
yeah.
move it on. I'll give you the last word.
Yes, sir. I agree. And like I said,
Yeah.
there was too much of it going on back then. But I'm just going about how my upbringing was, and it just wasn't. I'm not saying it. Actually, it's not right. No matter
Yeah.
if it's who it is. I don't even care if it's me and the cops beating the crap out of me on the side of the road. It ain't right.
Right.
But it was happening. And like I said, but the way I was brought up, it was just like it was there. But my upbringing played a lot of it, and I try to teach my son that. And don't look at the color of the skin because we both have the same blood, and that's just how I feel. But I've never had that kind. I mean, I know it happened,
But I get it. I get it. But like I keep saying, that's
but
just you. And there's not
but
enough people that are
there's
doing.
plenty of others that didn't wasn't brought up that way. I
Yeah,
agree. There's plenty of
but
us.
like I said, even if you're not brought up that way, but you don't do anything to people who were, then it really doesn't help out African Americans at all. I mean, it could be one guy on the block that is mistreating people, and there could be 100 of you. But if the one guy is allowed to do that, then 100 of you are of no use to us. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is that
I know.
folks like you who were not doing it did not help out the people who were going through it. And you represent the majority, probably, of Caucasians in your area. You were not engaging in the stuff, but at the same time, you did nothing to stop it. That's where it comes from.
Well, like I said, in that when I came up in the '80s, so if that helps you any.
Yeah, so did
That's
I.
all.
70s and
And
80s.
like in my neighborhood, it's like that's all we had was all we had was our friendships. Everybody was close. Not saying it didn't have, but I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not. If I seen one of my friends growing up getting beat down, not by a cop or by anybody, especially a white dude, I would jump in and stop him because I thought as my brother. Because
All
we
right.
because we done everything together. We went to schools. I mean, we went everything together. They would,
Well,
and
and like I
I mean, I
said,
know I might be a different breed, and people can say what they
it's not
want, but
it's not that you're a different breed. It just was not enough people like that back then. And by the
yeah, I
way,
wish they
if
were.
you had
I,
stepped in, you would have been referred to as an inward lover, and your life would have been
yeah,
in danger as well. I
yeah,
gotta move it on though, Adrian. Come on back in here anytime though. It was a really good talk, man.
okay, yes,
All
sir.
right. Appreciate you coming in. And don't have to call the host, sir. I appreciate the formality, but it's just your boy Tim. I appreciate that. Real quick, looking in the comments, what's the difference if I walk through the hood? Outlaw Josie and White, there's a huge difference. If you walk through the hood and you are mistreated for being Caucasian, you can pick up the phone and call police. If an African American walks through a certain area and he is being mistreated, it actually might be by the police. There's a huge difference. That is one of the biggest differences, is that you can call for assistance. It might be the assistants that are whooping my ass. So that's the difference on that. Looking else in the other comments, systemic racism has to do with politicians we elect. That is absolutely true. That is true. Hood equals neighborhood. Yes, it does. And my brother got beat up a lot for literally not being racist. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part. They refer to him as N-word lovers. I mean, listen, there were, Martin Luther King and those folks, they didn't do that shit by themselves. It wasn't the entire crowd supporting Martin Luther King was not African American. There were plenty of white folks that helped us out. Bernie Sanders has served time with civil rights protesters while being locked up. So there were plenty of them. The unfortunate issue is, though, once you started helping out an African American, you face the possibility of being treated like an African American. There are a lot of Caucasians that have lost their lives freeing slaves, helping slaves escape. Harriet Tubman is a good example. There were Caucasians helping her along that damn route. And they knew if they got caught, they could get killed. So we don't, in terms of history, if you want to talk about really talking about history accurately, I don't think we give Caucasians who were down for the cause their proper due. Like, we know about Confederates, we know about slaves and things like that, but what about that white guy that helped 100 slaves escape? You don't hear much about that. And there are plenty of them out there. There are plenty of them out there. Some folks would rumor, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the one candle you see sometimes in the middle of a house, out in the middle of nowhere, you see the candle burning in the middle of the window. Some would argue, or some have stated, that was the original symbol to let slaves on the run know this house is a safe place for you. I don't know if that's where that came from, but I have heard that from several different locations. But there are a lot of white people that put their lives on the line, put it all on the line, just to preserve humanity. And throughout our history, we don't give them a lot of credit. But it would not have been done without them. So I did want to bring that up. Nevertheless, as always, this is a lunch break live. I do appreciate you folks rolling with your boy. Could be anywhere you want to be on TikTok. The fact you've been here with me is always an honor. As always, you see the comments that come in. I don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. I always believe in protecting your right to speak just as much as my own. 40,000 likes. You guys were lazy as hell on tapping the screen today. But I'm not going to hate. We were always here. 600 plus of us in here. Nevertheless, I do have to be back to work. And I will catch you on the next live stream. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I got to go.